Welcome back to Let's Talk Sports. I'm CJ Tully, and we had some huge college football games this past weekend to set up our national championship. Let's talk about it. Now, the first game that we had this weekend was Miami taking on Ole Miss, and yes, this was a game that a lot of people were highly anticipating. You looked at this Ole Miss team, and they were starting to really build something here with Pete Golding. You saw Charlie Weis as offensive coordinator, Trinidad Chambliss and Kawan Lacey. They had been showing up big for this team, never giving up despite everything going on with the Lane Kiffin situation. On the other side of things, you had Miami coming off upsetting Ohio State, and there was a lot of hype around this team coming into this game, especially with this defense and the way that they've been able to perform and the ways that they have stepped up to kind of make up for any lackluster offense that they've had, but then you couldn't even blame Carson Beck. So coming into this game, it was going to be a highly competitive game, and that's exactly what we got. First off, let's look at Miami, and yes, they won this game 31-27, and they had their foot on the pedal early. This game had no Ole Miss time of possession early on. I think there was a time in this game where Miami was outscoring them in time of possession about 20 minutes to 8 minutes. So there was a lot going on here with this Miami offense. And that all started with Mark Fletcher Jr. He had another 133 yards in this game. And we've been seeing a lot of him in this postseason push here by Miami. And that all started with that game against Texas A&M, where he also went for over 100 yards. This is something that they're really starting to build off here in Miami. Now, Carson Beck coming into this game was somebody I said could not lose them the game. He's been playing very well the final stretch of this season, and especially in the postseason, not needing to put up tremendous amount of yardage. But with that, he's been playing very efficiently, and that's something that we've been seeing with Carson Beck a lot. And in this game, we saw it again, 2 touchdowns to 1 interception for 268 yards. This was his best game of the postseason, in my opinion. He also had a rushing touchdown as well. That was the game winner. So Carson Beck not losing in the game. Yes, he did throw an interception, which I thought would be very costly in these playoff games because we hadn't been seeing that from him of late, but he made up for it. He got the rushing touchdown. He looked very decisive in his plays as well, and I think that played big for this Miami team to have somebody like that at the helm in the biggest moment to now go on and play for a national championship. Somebody else that really stood out to me in this game was Keelan Marion. He had a big game as well, over 100 yards for him, and this offense has been very dynamic in who they find and who they utilize in each game. Malachi Toney, the true freshman, this guy has been amazing for them. He has been able to find every open spot on the field. He's made some incredible catches as well, and he's even lethal out of the backfield. So Miami found a true gem in Malachi Toney, and I think this is going to play big for them, not just this year, but for years to come. Now, going to this defense, I said how they have been a dominant force for this Miami team all season long, and especially here in the postseason. They did only have 1 sack on the day. They did get a little pressure on Trinidad Chambliss. He did have to roll out a lot. Would have liked to see a little bit more, though, especially from Ruben Bain. He has been somebody who's been huge for this Miami defense all year long. But again, they got the job done. But how are they going to fare when it comes to the national championship and playing against one of the best offenses in college football, if not the best? We will see. But this was a great performance by Miami. They had 41 minutes of possession in this game in its entirety. That's going to be something that carries over. If you can be able to be efficient with the ball, and this all goes back to Mark Fletcher Jr., if you're able to run the ball well, that's going to give you that time of possession. That's going to put the ball in your court for a majority of the game, and that's something I'm really looking forward to see here in their national championship matchup. On the other side of things, you didn't have a terrible day out of Trinidad Chambliss. Now, it did take them a while to get things going. He went 23 for 37 with 277 yards and a touchdown. Again, would have liked to see a little bit more from him. That would have been able to get them over that hump. A good Kawan Lacey day as well, 103 yards for him. He also did get injured in this game, so that kind of limited what he was able to do. I'm surprised he even came back in this game. The way that they were holding him on the sideline, it looked like he might have been out, but good for him to get back in there. He's going to be returning to Ole Miss next year, so we'll see what they're able to build and continue with Kawan Lacey. He is definitely one of the best running backs in college football, and he has proven that time and time again with this Ole Miss offense. So again, this is an Ole Miss team that's now dealing with some change. They are bringing back Lacey. They're going to have Pete Golding at the helm. They're going to be losing Charlie Weis, so maybe a whole new offensive scheme will have to be implemented, so we'll see what happens with them. But Miami wins this one. They move on to the national championship. And in the final game that we had this weekend, if you even want to call it a game, Indiana dominates 56-22 over Oregon, and this game was over from the very first snap. Dante Moore throwing a pick 6, and that set the pace for what this game was going to be for Indiana. Then you get Fernando Mendoza on the field, and it was lights out. He was 17 for 20 for 177 yards with 5 passing touchdowns. He has been dominant. He has every right to have earned that Heisman Trophy, and he has shown that he is one of the most dominant quarterbacks, if not the most dominant quarterback, headed into the National Football Draft. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see where he lands if somebody tries to trade up. It is very prevalent that it's going to be the Raiders that will go for him. Dante Moore is somebody else that they're looking to put in the draft. We'll see how this hurts his stock, if at all. But Dan Lanning, I think, is the bigger question mark here. With this big loss, after everything that you went through last year, to go undefeated, to win the Big Ten championship, and then to lose in your first round against Ohio State last year, there's going to be a lot of questions raised around Dan Lanning. I'd recently posted a video on TikTok and Instagram about, is he the new James Franklin? And yes, this is a very quick to jump to kind of thing, but you saw everything that happened with this Oregon team last year and now this year and how they played easy teams. Now, Texas Tech was not an easy team. I do want to make that very clear. I'm just saying the perception of this. People thought that Texas Tech had no shot, that they only won as many games as they did because they were in the Big 12. So now you look at this, and yes, they get stomped by Indiana. They got stomped last year by Ohio State. And is Dan Lanning going to get them to that big moment? Can he win the big game? This is everything that drug down James Franklin last year and in years past. So I'm going to be very curious to see what happens with Dan Lanning, how this Oregon team responds, who they're able to bring in. They're going to obviously need a new quarterback. I know Dylan Raiola is somebody that they've been hinted at as well to bring in. But we'll see what this team is able to do. Obviously not the way that you want to go out with no fight. Horrible ending there for Oregon. But going back to this Indiana team, they have so many weapons around this team, not even just Fernando Mendoza, but the guys that he's able to find. Elijah Surratt, he had 2 touchdowns in this game. Omar Cooper Jr., EJ Williams had a touchdown. And Charlie Becker has been a complete difference maker for this Indiana team since that Big Ten championship game where he went for over 100 yards. Last week he had a touchdown as well, and now this week getting a touchdown in there as well. Charlie Becker is somebody, you look at the postseason in any sport and you need that wild card, that guy that nobody's maybe looking at coming into the postseason or into the big games, and he could be that difference maker. And Charlie Becker has been that guy. Maybe you're not able to find Elijah Surratt every game. Maybe you can't find Omar Cooper Jr. in the back of the end zone like you were at the Penn State game, but Charlie Becker has been able to be that guy, that reliable, maybe third or fourth option for Fernando Mendoza, and that's played huge in this postseason for them. Now at the running back position, Kalen Black and Roman Hemby have been lethal as well. Kalen Black in this one, 63 yards with 2 touchdowns of his own. This team is built all around to do dominant things. This defense with the pick 6, they had 3 sacks in this game as well. And I think this is just a dominant trajectory that they're on. And I don't know who's going to be able to stop them. Now, they're going to be going up against Miami in this national championship. And this may be one of the better defenses they've faced all year. But with that being said, they were able to beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. And that was the best defense that was going into that game. So there's a lot of questions to still be answered, I guess, about this Miami team. But I don't think there's really many more you can answer with this Indiana team. I think they're just dominant. They're going to beat you on every aspect of the game. And if Carson Beck wants a shot in this game, he cannot make any mistakes. And this defense is going to have to show up big for Miami. But I'll get into my game predictions next week. Thanks for listening again. And please like, subscribe, comment. I want to hear from you guys. But what were your biggest takeaways from this weekend's football games?